Hello, how are you? This is going to be a video that relates to something I have to do. I kind of dread it. I have a request from somebody to make a class in advanced project finance issues, and I'm not allowed to use Excel. So I'm going to make some, if I want to demonstrate how things work, I am going to try to do it with simple examples rather than complicated examples. And you can always add a whole bunch of complicated things into your own files. Now, I kind of hate this, but we're going to start with sculpting and grace periods, okay? And I've entered some inputs, and now we'll show you what we're trying to do and show you how we're going to get there. Okay. The first thing is I put some capex, some growth in cash flow. So sculpting really does matter. And then we can have some net cash flow. Then I put a depreciation and a tax rate, and the depreciation expense I did compute. I said, well, just wait a minute. I'll have to fix that. And then we have interest rates that could increase, a grace period, a debt tenor of the loan that begins after the commercial operation date, a maximum debt to capital. We can try sculpting. Now I'm going to make it like with a level or installment equal. We could have a third method, but I'll just make this equal not true. Okay, so if you want an input for that, if you want to make that kind of thing an input, you can always make a little checkbox next to it. Kind of a silly little gimmick, but oh, this is how it's going to start? Okay, and of course I can't go to another sheet, so I'm just going to click on it. And I'll pay, what can you do here? Just a minute. Can you put colors and size? No, I guess you can't. Let's see if you can, because this taking the text off is sometimes a pain. Okay, so we'll just, if we press it 2, it goes to false. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is go either to the edbodmer.com to get the generic macros. Oops, just got home from a trip. Okay. To get the generic macros, you can either go here. Now, I continually update this. I hope I have a reasonable, recent file on this. So you can either go down on the first page, the 3 kind of key files, the generic macros, the read PDF, the lookup and interpolate, and then we can also, if you want to, whoops, not that one. That one I've just updated, by the way. I've done a lot of work on the read PDF file here, and I hope I put it right at the top. Okay, I hope that's okay. If you want to find the generic macros on the disk that I give you, you go to chapter number 1, folder number 12, blah, blah, blah. So let's open that one. Okay. Hello, Monica. And then we can press Shift Control C, which you could have done yourself. Now, to get the operations right, let's put the period first. And let's just say we have we start with 0 as our construction period, and then we'll Alt-DIS tab over and make it, we'll make it 30 years, because these issues about bullet payments, refinancing, sculpting, debt tenor, level of PPA tariff, project IRR, and ultimately equity IRR are all closely rated, DSCR. How do they all really come together? And I think this client that I'm really afraid to work with has a good point. I don't want to do a bunch of Excel models. I want to understand how they work. So at the end of the day, let's begin with a case with no taxes, look at different sculpting and different EBITDA. Okay? And once we do that, we'll have some kind of thing. Maybe we'll put the grace period here, and we can go up to the grace period and put a little drop-down box in it. Okay, let's make a grace period not that extreme. Let's make it pretty extreme. Let's make it 3. Okay, and then underneath the grace period, let's put the somewhere we'll put EBITDA. So that will give us a higher, lower thing, and tenor. Now we can change something like the debt to capital. We can change all sorts of things, and they all work together. Maybe I'll even put debt to capital here. So this is going to be a series. I hope to make a whole bunch of these videos. And when I'm going to make these videos, I'm going to also include taxes, which means that we'll have a circular reference, and we'll make the taxes 2 different ways. We'll make it with sculpting, without sculpting. Ultimately, we'll try to make it very, very flexible. But the first video is just going to be on the sculpting and grace period. Okay? Now let's make a switch. Notice I haven't advertised yet. Okay, I'm not going to advertise really, but if, the people who are taking the class maybe had a point. Let's put this grace period and then add the debt tenor. So I'm not sure how to define the debt tenor, but we're going to say the debt tenor extends. So we're just going to focus on a grace period. And what I was saying about the classes is, when I see some people who've really been wonderful about working on the videos, they kind of get little bits here and there, and you can't get the whole sense of a structure, and you just can't get that. I'm sorry. Can't do that. Self-study is fantastic, but it really is. I respect you so much for doing this, but at the end, having a nice structured class and meeting me and having fun, I hope you do that. Now, we'll always start this. Our switch is going to be our repayment switch. I don't see how you could do it without this switch. And, this client who wants to do this, and I can't even spell switch right. They're right. We know how to make this damn switches by now, and why do we want to spend a whole lot of time going up to the beginning, making it greater than or equal to the first one, pressing the F4, going up to the beginning and making it less than or equal to the second one, pressing F4, pressing Shift Control R, pressing Count If, go over to the first one, putting comma true. I am getting so bored with this crap, and I did it wrong. Okay, and we'll make it greater than 3. Okay, so okay, and that's a crucial thing to do. In fact, you can press Shift Control T and Shift Control F to make them in different colors. Those colors may be not so good because we have other ones. Then let's multiply the EBITDA by 1 plus the growth rate. Now, when we put a negative growth rate in here, it might have a pattern that looks a lot like the sculpting thing anyway. We'll talk about that later. Okay. So then we have our cash flow, Shift spacebar, Shift Control plus. Boing, boing, boing. Project IRR equal IRR. Be lazy. The whole rule. Shift Control P. I hope in the generic macros, I hope I put just kind of some of the essential ones. Perhaps we need a few more. Okay. Now, then we have rates, interest rates that change. We haven't done the financing. So let's press Shift Control plus F4 a bunch of times, and let's put our project finance model. I suppose we can even be kind of ridiculous, put CapEx as our uses of funds. Okay, and then we'll put our debt, which now, this is going to be the big thing, is the debt could be 80% of the capital, or it could be the amount that we get from sculpting. So perhaps we'll, why don't we do it kind of in a better structured manner and put debt sizing. Okay, and we'll put max debt to cap is 80% multiplied by the shit. I have to go up here to get it, I guess. Shift Control 1, and then DSCR target we'll have there, and then the final will be the minimum, not the maximum, because banks like to be conservative. Remember that. But right now this is blank, so it's just taking the 800. So our debt is up here, could be either one, alt equal to add the 2, Shift Control 1, okay, total, and then, whoops, that was stupid, equity, this is just this minus this, screw the total. Okay, and then we put our debt, and then let's put our opening balance, and then put less the repayment. And for now, for this first video, excuse me, I'm going to only concentrate on the sculpting. Okay, and I'm even going to okay, we can change it in interest. Okay, all right. Now, if we have something like this, I should have done this a long time ago. Alt WFF. It's one of the few kind of alt things I use. Start with the closing balance, not the opening balance. Opening balance is equal to the closing balance, blah, blah, blah. And then we need the repayment. Closing balance is this minus that. Interest rate is lookup. I hope if you've seen me before, you should be bored of this lookup. It's so much better than the stupid VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP. It goes so much faster. Okay, Shift Control P. Interest expense is the rate times the opening balance. Okay, and then right now Shift Control R all works. Okay, that didn't take very long, did it? Okay, now the only other thing we have to do is compute in the target debt service coverage ratio. Let's put the target debt service. And here's the big trick. If you have a grace period, okay, what you do is you go to the EBITDA. Notice that since we don't have taxes, there's no problem. And why don't we put our target debt service coverage ratio here? We're not quite finished with that. I hope. Just wait with that. Don't think we're finished. Don't think we're finished. Okay, go to this debt EBITDA and divide it by that and multiply it. But no, don't multiply it. Oh, don't multiply it. Instead of multiplying it, you put an if statement and you go up to the switch, and that false and true are extremely important because of the NPV calculation. And in the NPV calculation, if we're going to use the NPV calculation, we put NPV of debt service. What it will do is it'll go to the closing balance, and it will get the debt balance at the beginning of this period. It'll be the beginning balance, and that will be how much we have to repay. If we put zeros here, it would not work. So you put equal NPV, and this time we're cheating because we have the same thing. So now what we have is less debt with this one. We have less debt. And we can put this debt service target here. Now, there's something else. Okay, right now, I suppose, what's our debt? Why is that? Just a minute. That's producing not very much debt with the sculpting. I'm surprised it's producing so much. Oh, we've only got 10. Let's put a 15-year tenor. And then we get more debt than we have. So we'd have this. This wouldn't really be the this wouldn't be the amount we could put. So what we can do is, before we do this target debt service, we can put the cash flow over repayment. Okay, and it's really, I did made an exercise recently where I talked about the LLCR. But if we put the same thing, we basically do the same calculation with the cash flows as we do for this one, okay? For the debt service. Shift Control 1. And then we can put NPV of cash flow over repayment, period. Okay. And I'm going to make it wider again. Blah, blah, blah. NPV at 3% of, I'll do it like this. Okay. Now, that means that if we make our LLCR using max debt to cap, we take this one and we divide it by the max debt to cap, and we get the 1.81, not the 1.85. Okay. And then we can put target DSCR applied, and that's going to be kind of the same thing. It's a little bit complicated now. This one I don't think is easy. It's minimum. Well, if you put equal minimum of this one or this one. And then, and I should have used max. I think there's a rule for me. Whenever I think I'm going to be using max, I use min. And when I think I'm going to be using, so this is what we do here. Now, if we took the debt tenor back down to 10, then the debt sizing is driven by the debt service target. If you make this 8, it's driven by this. Okay, so once we have this, we can put the repayment in, and the repayment is which is going to be 0 before the thing. So we can take our target debt service minus the interest expense, but we get a negative amount. Okay, and we better multiply that by the repayment switch. And then we put this in, and we get we get the 0 balance whenever let me see the closing balance. No, that's not right. Well, I'm trying to come up with a test, but I'm not going to do it right now. Okay, now if we wanted to start with our, how about we put 120 and just put minus 5 maybe, okay, and just put kind of a lower amount here. Delete that. Okay, and then we put up here the, whoops, let's put 7, 10, 15, 20, 25, and now what we haven't computed yet is our equity return, and we'll put our equity cash flow, which is always going to be a minus sign on the amount of equity you put in from the sources and uses funds, and then it's simply the cash flow we have up here minus the debt service, which is the repayment, minus the interest. Okay, shift control R, and then we put our equity IRR, and that's equal IRR, and we select it, shift control P. Now we'll put that in our little data table. Okay, and then I think if you didn't have this here, how about this? Let's put 1 over here, and then you can press shift control space, and it didn't work. Because I have this stupid thing, but that would have worked for you. And then Alt D T, and the row input that corresponds to the tenor. The column is this one. We better press shift control and shift control P. Then we can press shift F9, I hope. Maybe not, because I have this down. I better press this one. So we get from, of course these are gonna be lower, but look how much higher it is, of course, if we have a longer tenor, and if we have a different. Now, if we change this grace period, I can't change it here, so you better put a spinner box here. How fast can I put a spinner box there? I don't have a video just on spinner boxes. I probably should. I might have one. Maybe I do somewhere. I have way too many of these boring videos. Okay, just right click and before we do this, let's put another sheet here. Right click and let's go from the format control. So we can start with 0 and go up to 10 or something. Go to another sheet, back to this sheet, and then click on this 3, and then we press OK, and then we've finished, and then we. So let's copy this. Whoops. Come on. Okay. Okay. You know, and why don't we right click and assign a macro and make it new and just put it application dot calculation. No, calculate. And you can put active sheet application dot. Okay, and then whenever we change this, it'll recalculate. So we can kind of see, if we have a 0 thing. And what should be happening is when we go to these short tenors, it's all driven by the 80% anyway. When we go to the long tenors, then it's switching to the DSR approach, okay? And, you know, I think I'm about to end this video, but let's put which method is used, okay? Okay, I was almost afraid to, oh, that's stupid, method. And how about, if this equals this, then we put sculpting. Okay, otherwise we put max gearing. Okay, and then we can do the same thing. Why don't we just copy this over here and just put in our method here, and we'll put that, and then we better go to the formulas and just calculate it. I guess I didn't make this a table, excuse me, that was kind of stupid. Okay, and we put the tenor first, and then this here, and let's see what happened. And then we better calculate it. Oh shit, it's sculpting every time. Okay, I've got to just let me pause this. Something sounds funny. Okay, I had made a mistake in this little calculation, and we can see that the sculpting, what happens in the sculpting and the maximum gearing now. Why don't we push the gearing down? We have one funny little sculpting there. I don't know if that sounds like a mistake. But what happens if we put a different DSCR? So without doing our little spinner box, I'll do that offline. Let's make this 2. Okay, Shift Control 1, and calculate things now. No, we have more sculpting and less gearing kicking in. So That's what we're going to do. And we're going to uh, put this in now. You know, you could also go backwards and do a goal seek to say, okay, what if I need some kind of 10% IRR, and uh, what happens if the bank gives me different terms? Will the sculpting or the gearing really matter? Okay, in fact, let's uh, I think let's put uh, DSCR, so cash flow. Okay, and get our cash flow, and then get our debt service, which is this plus this. Uh, okay. Press Shift Control R. If we're gonna have to do a little more. If this thing is no, we don't have to do anything like that. Oops. Why? What did I just do? Okay. Okay. Alternate F1. Okay. 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 Now we hopefully have completely flexible sculpt. Oh, come on. Structuring in our analysis. Okay. Okay. And we'll put some other. Let's put 1.1.15. Okay. Uh-oh. Or so and then let's put the 70 here or something. So we're driven by the sculpting. Okay. And we might even put a shorter term in there. Let's put a grace period of 1 and a tenor of 15. And then you can see it's really driven by the sculpting rather than by the max gearing. So we should put right up here which kind of it's. Uh, okay. Whoops. So, do I have a macro in here? Okay. Well, I'll just save it. So, I'm going to save this grace period and sculpting 1. Okay. All right. And that's the end of video number 1. Okay, this is a adjustment to the final one we just did, but what this shows you, I put a little spinner box around the EBITDA. I, if you don't know how to do these spinner boxes and stuff, maybe I'll put it in the next one. But it demonstrates how you can take a low, well, this is perhaps too low, but let's take a, what's the project IRR? I should put the project IRR here. And how you can switch these structuring elements. So we've only got 3% IRR, and if we use sculpting, and if we can get the DSCR down enough, ooh, we're even to maximum gearing here. Okay, and okay, let's put this a little bit lower, and then if we don't have a grace period, it pushes it down. I don't know, and you can see then when it switches from sculpting to this should say calculation. This is just our calc button, okay? All it has is a calc sheet thing. If the tenor is a lot lower, it kills you. You just can't get anything. And if the grace period is nothing, and right now we're in sculpting, so if you push the DSCR up, you're really going to kill the IRR. So you can just see what happens when you do this. Now, if you push the IR up, okay, and then try to, it goes to maximum gearing, and then when you put the maximum gearing here, if you increase the DSCR, of course it doesn't matter. If you increase if you increase the grace period, it does help a lot. And so on and so forth. Okay, it's too confusing for me almost to figure out which of all these ratios really matter. If the sculpting is going, this doesn't matter, but then the gearing matters a whole lot. Okay, and it all depends on how much cash flow you have and the structure of the debt. Okay, so I'm going to stop it now finally. Now what we're going to do is in the next uh, video, let's just change the interest rates. That's not a big deal. Then in the one after that, well, this is actually in true for sculpting, but we'll switch it to a regular level repayment and see how all of these different factors really affect things if we have level versus sculpting. Okay, so that's the addendum to video 2, so I'm going to just